United Nations World Food Programme has warned of increasing hunger in 13 hotspots around the world, with 5 of them facing an immediate risk of starvation and death. 3 of the top 5 are in Africa. The agency, together with the Food and Agriculture Organization, warns that urgent humanitarian action is needed.
Conflict is the main driver of crisis. We identify 5 countries or territories of highest concern. This is Sudan, South Sudan, Palestine, Mali, and Haiti. And conflict is driving very high levels of acute food insecurity. That's why we highlight these places. There's an ongoing famine in Sudan and also a risk of famine in the case of Gaza. And all of those are driven by conflict and lack of access for humanitarians.
In Sudan, nearly 25 million people face acute food insecurity amid the ongoing conflict and displacements. South Sudan faces threats from political tensions, the risk of flooding and economic challenges, with nearly 60% of people experiencing acute food insecurity, while in Mali, households are increasingly vulnerable.
Over the next few months, we're very concerned about the reduction in humanitarian funding, which will lead to a decline in assistance. That means smaller rations and reduced numbers of people receiving much-needed humanitarian assistance in some of the world's most vulnerable countries.
5 African nations are among the remaining 8 listed in the UN report as the most concerning. They are the Democratic Republic of Congo, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Chad and Somalia.
China is the latest country to issue an advisory asking its nationals to leave Israel as soon as possible. China has conspicuously not issued any similar advisory for Iran. With airspace over Israel shut, citizens have been advised to leave through the land border. China has recommended Jordan as the preferred route while ensuring their personal safety. A notice issued by the embassy on Tuesday said that the Israel-Iran conflict continues to escalate, causing damage to civilian infrastructure and increasing civilian casualties. With the security situation growing increasingly severe, the government has now extended nationwide state of emergency until June 30th. In recent days, many Chinese nationals in Israel have contacted the embassy by phone or through email to ask when the airport will reopen and when Hainan Airlines flights will resume. China has condemned Israel's strikes on Iran. Other countries that have released advisory for their citizens to evacuate the region include the UK, that advised Britons against all travel to Israel amid an escalation in the country's military activity with Iran. Germany's foreign ministry has issued a travel warning for Israel. Russia's foreign ministry advised Russian nationals against traveling to either Iran or Israel, citing security concerns and reasons at this point of time. The ministry also urged citizens already in affected areas to stay away from military installations and crowded public locations. Poland, the Czech Republic and Lithuania announced evacuation of their citizens from Israel as tensions with Iran continue to escalate. The Netherlands have also issued a separate travel advisory for Iran and Israel. The Vietnamese embassy in Israel has issued a formal advisory to members of the Vietnamese community. Several hundred Australians have registered interest in leaving Israel and Iran, but have been advised to shelter where they are while airspace remains closed. Foreign Minister Penny Wong said that while no flights are possible, given the risk of missile strikes on civilian aircraft, the government was working on a range of plans to help people leave when safe.
This is the hotel I stayed in. You can see that there's just a few people here. A lot of people are evacuating Tehran. Hotel staff told me that the hotel is almost empty now. Earlier, a block not far from the hotel was attacked, so almost all the people around here have evacuated. The situation in Tehran is getting more tense. Earlier today, the residence of a Swiss diplomat was attacked. Fortunately, he was not at home, but this also shows to some extent that there is no safe place in Tehran at present.
अभी हम गए थे पढ़ने के लिए, लेकिन उनके हालात ख़राब हो गए थे इसराइल के उसके साथ उनकी जंग की वजह से। तो उन्होंने हमें सारे पाकिस्तानियों को भेजे इस वजह से कि आपको कोई मसला पैदा ना हो जाए या कोई और चीज़ की वजह से, तो उन्होंने हम सबको भेजे हैं।
क्योंकि आपको पता है कि ईरान में काफ़ी संगीन हालात बने पड़े हैं ईरान और इसराइल से भी, सो दैट्स वाई हमने सोचा कि जायदान के नज़दीक तरीन बॉर्डर पे कप्तान है, तो हमने इस चीज़ को किया और जल्द से जल्द पाकिस्तान वाला है, ठीक है, और अपने घर वाले जो हमारे बहुत ज़्यादा परेशान हैं.
Comment vous interprétez manifestement son départ précipité là, du G7, précisément à cause de la situation entre Israël et l'Iran? Est-ce qu'il y a une nouvelle offre de négociation américaine? Est-ce qu'elle comporte par exemple la possibilité d'une rencontre entre Trump et le président iranien?
Écoutez, c'est ce que Écoutez, il y a une offre qui a été faite en effet de rencontres et d'échanges. Il y a une offre qui a été faite surtout d'avoir un cessez-le-feu et d'enclencher justement des discussions plus larges. Et je pense que c'est une très bonne chose. Donc il faut maintenant voir ce que les parties prenantes suivront.
Just hours ago, Israeli regime deliberately targeted the office of Iran's news agency during a live broadcast. This appalling attack constitutes a blatant war crime and a direct assault on press freedom. The Israeli regime has once again demonstrated that it is the foremost enemy of truth. It holds the disgraceful record of being the world's leading perpetrator of violence against journalists and media professionals. In response to this barbaric attack and aggression, Iran exercised its inherent right to self-defense in line with Article 51 of Charter. Our response was defensive, targeted, and proportionate.
לאורך היום, חיל האוויר זיהה מספר מסעיות המכילות אמצעי לחימה ומשגרי טילי קרקע אוויר. המסעיות ניסו להימלט מתקיפות צה"ל, הושמדו מהאוויר, ובכך נמנע ירי נוסף לעבר מדינת ישראל. אנחנו ממשיכים לפעול אל מול איום טילי הקרקע אוויר. טילי הקרקע אוויר, טילי הקרקע קרקע והכטב"מים. אנחנו תוקפים תעשיות, מאתרים את הפעילים ואת אמצעי הלחימה ומסכלים אותם.
Air raid sirens in the early hours of Tuesday as Iran and Israel exchanged strikes for a fifth day. The Israeli Defense Force says Tehran launched 30 missiles into the country in an attack early this morning. A spokesperson says while most of them were intercepted, some made impact. Meanwhile, Iranian media reported explosions and heavy air defense fire in Tehran overnight. Its armed forces have warned Israel of a new wave of fierce attacks that will intensify today. Tehran has described the Israeli offensive as a war crime, saying its response is proportionate and rooted in self-defense.
The Israeli regime deliberately struck densely populated civilian areas in multiple large Iranian cities where millions live. So far, 1,480 people have been killed or injured. At least 224 civilians, including women and children, have been killed. Iran will resolutely defend its security and territorial integrity. We focused only on military and economic assets involved in the aggression. Iran does not seek war or escalation, but we will not hesitate to defend our people, our territory, and our sovereignty.
At least 24 Israelis have been killed so far in Iranian strikes, with close to 600 others injured. Israel has vowed to continue fighting Tehran, saying there was only one way to end the conflict.
You want to de-escalate like we want to de-escalate. You want to de-escalate, get the nukes out of Iran's hand. That's all there is to it. It's all very simple. Escalation means rushing to the bomb. Escalation means attacking us with missiles from all over. That's escalation.
Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump left the G7 summit in Canada a day early because of the situation in the Middle East. He urged people to evacuate Tehran, triggering speculation of a major Israeli offensive, and reiterated that Iran should have signed a nuclear deal with Washington.
It was an urgent call for peace. The foreign ministers of 21 Arab and Islamic countries released a joint statement on Monday to condemn the ongoing Israeli attacks on Iran. Military means cannot bring about a lasting resolution to the ongoing crisis, read the statement, while also calling for diplomacy, dialogue, and adherence to the principles of good neighborliness, in accordance with international law and the UN Charter. The statement comes after an initiative by Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati for consultations with his counterparts from 20 other nations. The ongoing conflict between Israel and Iran entered its fifth day on Tuesday, with multiple casualties reported on both sides. The escalation began with Israeli airstrikes on Iran on 13th of June.